So, can failure actually lead to success? And in this video, I'm going to talk with a good friend of mine, and we're going to talk about some of our failures and some of our successes and how the two kind of commingled and worked together. If you've had a lot of failures, if you're currently failing at a whole bunch of things, I think this video is really going to be an encouragement to you. You're actually in really good company. And so just hang on, we're just about to start. All right, so I'm here with my good friend Joseph, and he is the guy you want to go to if you are a writer. And we'll get into more of that a little bit later, but he helps people in so many different ways with writing, and I'm super excited about some of the things he's doing. And we are going to talk about something that a lot of writers are well acquainted with, which is this idea of failure. And we're going to talk specifically about failure and success in terms of the life of the Christian, and I think from our vantage point as an entrepreneur a little bit. And one of the things I just wanted to start with was, and I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, but what do you think about failure leading to success?
Well, what I think about it now is it's almost necessary. In order to have success, you have to go through some level of failure. But I don't think failure is really the right word, but what most of us would consider failure of, I tried something, it didn't work like I thought it would, equals failure. But really, I've learned that trying things, experimenting, I like to kind of change that word to experiment, really is the only way to find out what works.
I mean, it's been the same for me. Like, people will see some level of success that I've had as an entrepreneur and assume that everything was a success, and I'm like, no, it's not. I mean, it's like I fail, and then like one thing kind of goes right, and that just seems to be the path that I've experienced as an entrepreneur. And I think a lot who I talk to kind of go through a similar series of that. And even after you reach a certain level of success or you have something that works well, like that still happens. It's still that same process. You know what I mean? Yeah,
you still continue to fail, try things
whatever we're calling this,
that don't work, and you just learn to, and it never really gets easier. It's still just as frustrating. It's still, sometimes we'll take a blow, on your ego of like, oh, why is this not working? What's wrong with me? And so it really just takes a good mental game to recognize those thoughts, remind yourself that, okay, no, I'm experimenting. Just because this didn't work the way I thought doesn't mean I'm a failure or that I'm not working. It's just maybe we need to just slightly position something differently.
Yeah, and I think the thing as a Christian, like I think there's just a lot of difficulty wrestling with, when you're doing something, and particularly when you're doing the right thing. Because I think it's easy when you go off and do some major sin and then you see negative consequences. Like, that's easy to understand,
You're like, yeah, well, that's what I deserve. Okay.
That's just kind of logical, that you do this and then negative consequences might be a result. But when you're doing the right thing, and that's what's challenging, I think, for a lot of Christians, is I'm doing the right thing, but yet it just seems like it's not working. And it seems like I am just failing, And in my own life, I remember all through high school, like I just longed to go work in corporate America, and I wanted to climb the corporate ladder. Like, I enjoyed wearing a suit and tie in high school. Like, I was that type of kid. Like, I wanted to go be that. And so I found myself in corporate America after I got out of college, and I got in this big firm, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in at the bottom and I'm gonna climb my way to the top. I'll be CEO in 20, 30 years or whatever. And it just didn't go that way at all. It went the opposite. And I more or less like kind of tunneled myself into some little hole in this company where I just couldn't get out. I was branded negatively. I was doing a job I was not good at. I felt unappreciated. I wasn't making much money. And I had like no kind of career prospects because I had like kind of pigeonholed myself. And anyway, I felt like a complete failure. And this thing that I had been striving for, was just completely out of my grasp, and that's just really hard.
Yeah, it is. It is really hard. I can remember a similar situation, but very different circumstances. I had a decent corporate job, and I was just trying to make extra money on the side.
Yeah.
My wife and I were following the Dave Ramsey plan. We were trying to get out of debt, and we felt like God was, calling us to do this. And so I'm like, okay, God, well, I need you to help me, open the doors, right? And it felt like the doors kept closing, which sometimes can be his plan for certain things. Yeah. And I was trying to do what Dave Ramsey recommends. I was going to get a night job or a weekend and try to deliver pizzas.
Yeah.
And I could not get a pizza delivery driver position. I didn't have pizza delivery driver experience.
While you were working at a job, probably making, what, 5, 10 times
I was a manager.
More?
Yeah, I felt like, I would come into these pizza places and I'm like, I could manage this place, but I can't get the delivery driver position. And it was humbling. I remember driving home one night after putting in my application and then, just being like, we'll get back with you. I think this was like the 3rd place. And I'm like, just praying, like, God, what's going on here? Like, why? Yeah. I'm trying to get out of debt. What's the problem? And it was one of those weird moments where it was like, why don't you look at online opportunities? Yeah. I remember it wasn't like God spoke this audibly to me, but I remember that just nudging.
That seed of an idea.
And I was kind of like, it was something totally different than what I was thinking I was supposed to be doing. And I remember kind of arguing with it, like, well, no, that's like shady stuff, or I don't want to go sell stuff on eBay, or I didn't know anything about it at the time. But I was just like, all right, what do I got to lose? And I started Googling and researching ways to make money online. I think I literally typed that in. Yeah. And I came across folks who were teaching people, who were doing things online, who were helping people and getting paid for it. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, is this real?
They're not all scammers.
Right, I was still skeptical. Like, what's going on? Yeah. And it was just like, because those doors kept closing, and to me at that time, I felt like a complete failure. I was not where I wanted to be in the corporate world. It was just getting by. We still weren't cutting it. It was living paycheck to paycheck. We're in massive debt. And now I'm trying to go get a second job, which I can't get. And so I'm just like, I'm failing. Like, what is going on here? This is not where I thought I'd be in life. And so that's literally how I started, was from feeling like a failure to just being open to, all right, let me see and try something new. Maybe.
And that led to an incredibly successful venture that you're doing now.
Yes, through a series of more failures.
Yeah.
And experiments, basically. I can remember just thinking, okay, well, I'm going to start blogging because it seems like that's where most people start. So that's what all the people that I was following online were doing. They had blogs. And so I was like, well, I'm going to just get in the game, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'll start. And I was starting, and I was like, okay, God's led me to this, right? And I'm praying for wisdom, like, every day. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Just show me the right ways and help me meet the right people. And I'm blogging my face off, writing articles. Nobody's reading them. I'm trying to put out these, like, ebooks and selling things because I see people, like, making money from that. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that. Nobody's buying them. So once again, I'm like, I'm failing at this too. Yeah. What's going on, God? And it was... But it was through those that I realized what was working and what wasn't, and it led me to further study, basically marketing, what people are buying, what they want, the audience, and that was how I discovered a really big pain in the market that I could solve, which was a course on a writing software called Scrivener. And I would have never found that had I not failed at those other attempts.
That's so good.
And so I always look at that, even currently, I feel like there's certain areas that I'm like, I'm failing in. Yeah. But now I've learned to realize, like, that could just be an opportunity in disguise. Yeah. And so, but it still hurts.
Yeah, like, and it's so tricky. I mean, and my story's similar. Like, out of that situation, I was passed over for a promotion that I was like way more qualified for, had more experience for, all these things. Like, in the natural, it's like I should have gotten the job, and I was passed over for it. And I could not understand why. It was the most devastating kind of promotion opportunity that I missed. And looking back, and my story is similar in that because I went through that led me to this online world that allowed me to start a business that, has been able to pay the bills for a decade, which is a success in my book, And it wouldn't have happened, I know without a shadow of a doubt, that had I gotten that promotion, it would have been a really big raise, and I don't think I would have even looked in this other corner.
Right.
And so what's interesting to me about that is that at that moment, at my biggest and most challenging moment, I was feeling like, God, are you there? Are you listening? Do you see what's going on?
Yeah.
And he was.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, And I don't understand how all the pieces work together, but I know that he used all those things to get me where I needed to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my wife teases me all the time and goes, aren't you thankful God didn't answer your prayer to get that pizza job?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah. I mean, I would have settled for so much less.
Yeah.
And now we have the opportunity to, you know, work from home and spend more time with my family, which at the time was a struggle because I'm like, yeah, I know. I already don't see you guys a lot, but I'm going to have to go get a night job to pay off debt. And God was like, no, 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 I have something way better.
Yeah.
But I could not have even fathomed that.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad that I didn't, you know, quit. That's the other option. Is sometimes because you have these failures, you assume it's just not working or that you've missed it. And what do? We literally just quit.
Yeah.
And you miss out on so much.
All right, well, I hope that was helpful for you. And in part 2 of this series, Joe and I are talking about how to know when you should quit. Because there are times where we should quit or pivot to move on to something else. And we cover that in this next video right here. And if you enjoyed this video, let us know by leaving a like down below or leaving a comment. And I will see you in the next video.
And I don't know how we're going to do this anyway.
Right.